Hey everyone, and welcome to the 8th installment of the weekly catch-up podcast. It is November 19, 2019. I'm your host, Carson Gibbons, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, B-Red Colvin.
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here, man.
So, we're coming to you from an untraditional podcast location. We're sitting here in Mr. B-Red's teacher lounge office.
Yeah, I have my own office, and you obliged me to come visit me, so tomorrow evening I can celebrate my girlfriend's birthday. And
Woo, happy birthday, Courtney. I didn't realize that she was so close to mine.
yeah,
Wait, what is her
she's the
actual
day
birthday?
after yours.
Okay, November 21. There's a lot of cool people. I actually had an interview last night with a guy whose birthday is on November 21, and I immediately felt like, oh wow, you're the same kind of screwed up as me.
Not sure that's how that works, but
I feel like people traditionally view Scorpios as like flawed, plagued individuals of sorts. Maybe.
I mean Drake.
Yeah. Well, no, he's October.
Mm,
October's very own.
he released the album Scorpio.
Oh.
Scorpion.
Are you sure that he's a Scorpio?
Continue talking, I'll check.
Okay. Well, anyway, B-Rad hit me up earlier this week and had just explained that he had his girlfriend's birthday dinner, which was going to be in conflict with our normal podcast taping at the Dallas location. And so I ended up coming down to Chisholm Trail Academy here in Keene, Texas, battled through the Dallas traffic to get here, and just had the distinct privilege of meeting Bradley's, I guess, boss, or he's the direct report.
That's my principal.
Principal Simons, Simple Simon, as he introduced himself, after explaining to me that it was either a good friend or
It was a family member.
had dated my mom back in the day. And he's like, I don't know your dad, but say hello to your mom for me. And I was like, all right,
Yeah,
back up.
That's pretty crazy.
I'm pretty positive that we actually ran into your principal at Antonio's Mexican Food in Burleson the last time that we were there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Just to bring it back for a sec, Drake is a Scorpio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. I know
I
my
know that
Drake.
I make the tail end of the star designation or whatever.
He makes it right in the beginning. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But anyway, so I hit up B-Rad today and said, hey, dude, I'm coming down. I got the portable podcast studio all ready to go. Do you have a good taping location for us? And he goes, yeah, we can just try my office. And I was like, okay, you prick. Like, I didn't know you had an office.
I mean,
Even my teacher friends have offices.
yeah, just
No, but I just got the tour. It's a really cool, like, little kind of cozy nook room.
yeah, a lot of my students. So I have several juniors that came in maybe 4 weeks into school, and they decided to, or they asked if they could paint my classroom. And so we had like a pizza party. They came in with their paint and rollers, and then they decorated my bookshelves. We put up some cool boards. We have like a quote of the week that we put up every week that the students pick. And so they've really made the classroom their own. And that's really what I'm all about, man. I just want them to feel comfortable in the classroom and for them to feel like it's theirs and not dread coming in. Like, I always have students trying to hang out in here just because it's one of their favorite classrooms now that we have all the lights set up and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed the kind of festive Christmas lights. Are those
a new edition for Christmas, or are those always?
So for those listening, we have a Christmas tree in there, and obviously that's not going to stay up year round. But the lights that I have strung around the classroom, that is a year round thing. And so I typically turn on half of the main lights, and then I turn on the little festive lights, so it creates a nice little ambiance. So we do that whenever we're reading. If they're testing and stuff, I want them to stay focused, so I'll turn on all the lights. Don't want them falling asleep or anything. But
it's actually like an ambiance measure.
Yeah,
clairvoyance. What is the lighting term that I'm searching for?
I don't know, man. I thought you nailed it with ambiance, but
it doesn't matter. Anyway, it was just interesting to come down and actually see your workspace, because I feel like all of our teacher friends, with the exception of you and Sierra, are at like lower grade levels, where I knew it would be intrinsic that they would probably have the same kids all day in the same room.
right.
But with you guys here at the high school level,
Yeah, I see 3 grades a day.
I didn't know if you switched rooms or they switched rooms, and So it's really cool to kind of see your work digs here, and you have like the only adjoining office to the classroom
Yeah,
in the
so I can
building. So
take
that's
my
pretty cool.
breaks, but still peek in and make sure that they're not burning the classroom down. So that's always nice.
Always a plus.
Yeah.
So you got a bunch of tournaments this weekend or this week, I guess, that you're prepping
Not
for?
tournaments,
We're doing the
but
podcast a day early this week, I guess.
yeah, we're doing it a day early, and I also wasn't able to drive to you today because every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday basketball games are going on, and whenever they're home games, especially, I announce them. Like I announce the starting five for both the varsity girls and boys, and then I sit with the boys
You're
during
like,
their
are
game.
you ready to
Yeah.
rumble?
And I feel like, I've described, me always wanting to be there for my students and everything. So really for the varsity boys, my role has been to like calm them down whenever they get heated on the court. We have some that get pretty emotional, and, the coach is yelling at him, doing his job and everything, and I respect that. So my job is, to cool them down, make sure they're not yelling at the refs so they don't get, thrown out of the game and stuff like that. So
Wow, you're just holding back prepubescent adolescent men. Like,
dude, it's
hey
gotten
man,
crazy.
don't fight them.
But I swear, like I've taken some out into the hallway and given them my little pep talk, and they've gone back in and scored like 15 points. Last night we won a really tough game by 3 points. It was neck and neck the entire game, really exciting. Their coach was so like the opponent's coach was so angry, and because they were expecting like an easy win. That coach had actually told our head coach that they're like, man, yeah, we're really upset that we have to play North Dallas this year because they're going to screw up our chance to go into the playoffs. Like he was already talking about another team to us because he was not worried about us beating them. And we ended up beating them by 3. So it was a huge win for our boys. I'm really, really proud of them.
Well, mad props, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What else is going on in the world? It's weird coming back down here to Keene. I feel like I'm off my game from all the stuff that I would normally be talking about or kind of on the ball with, just because.
Yeah, you're in my world now.
Yeah, I'm in your world, and it's just kind of trippy to be back down here. My reasons for being down here, unfortunately, have dwindled as the years have gone on, and progressively lost different family members to different illnesses in their elder age. But it's cool to be back down here in my alma mater town, and
Yeah.
lots of memories. And
Yeah. I know we briefly mentioned one time about how you and I reconnected after you had graduated and everything.
oh, do I actually get to tell that story today?
Yeah, because I did tell you, we'll hold off for another time. So if you wanted to share that, I figured now would be an appropriate time, you being back here in Keene.
This is some episode 8 goodness, and I'm trying to remember, not to appear crass, but I'm trying to remember who passed that I was down here.
Yeah.
I want to say that it was my dad's dad, who was the first of all of the kind of grandparents to pass away.
That
And
sounds right.
so I was down here. He was one of those people that, he had his first quadruple bypass surgery at the age of like 49 or something
wow.
crazy. Or maybe it was just bypass surgery. Either way. So he lived to be 80, early 80s, something like that.
Okay.
And so, but he'd been on his last leg for quite a while, and it was almost more of a blessing that he was gone. I think that he wanted it that way. So the mood was just to set the stage. Like I was not down here, I guess, bawling my eyes
Right,
out, like,
yeah.
not able to. I didn't need windshield wipers for my eyes.
Yeah,
in
it
my
wasn't like
car.
a sudden passing or anything
No,
like that.
it was. I mean, it was sudden. They're always sudden. Is the weird thing. Like he was okay, and then in hospice, and then dead.
Yeah. Okay.
Very briefly, but it was like, the 58,000th time that he should have gone. You know what I mean?
Right. So so it's like another was like, oh, you didn't realize this would be the actual time.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I did miss seeing him in hospice. So that was bad timing on my part. But anyway, we were down here for the funeral and some of the festivities and different things like that. And I hadn't seen good old B-Red here in, a couple of years?
Yeah. I
You
had gone to Southern
Okay.
in Tennessee, Collegedale, Tennessee, and I spent a year out there. I actually spent time. My ex-girlfriend and your sister were good friends. I introduced them, and so I spent time hanging out with your sister over in Southern. And
now she'll be my cousin soon.
oh, my ex, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant your sister.
No.
Yeah, I was like, oh, whoa.
Well, no, just going back to
Yeah,
Principal Simple Simon saying like, "Oh, we could have been family," and I was like,
yeah.
"Well, if it wasn't through my mom, it definitely could have been through my uncle, who's made me family with half the town through his
Oh.
endeavors and marriages." But go back to what you were
Anyway,
saying.
so
That's how the
I
end
had
of his
been,
faith is. It's
right.
very
And so I had been at
dog
Southern hanging out with my friends and your sister, and then I ended up transferring back. And you were over in Dallas at that point. You were kind of well established, and I just hadn't hit you up. I had broken up.
Thanks.
I had broken up with my ex, and then I had been going. Then somebody ended up breaking up with me, so I was just kind of in a rut. And I'm just. I was living in the villa. It's known as the villa across the street, which was like some old apartments that now they rent out to students. And so that
It's for
being
like the older classmen, and you were like what, 5th, 6th year at that point?
I graduated in 5 years. That was probably.
Let's just say that I'd been out of school for years at that point.
But you were already ahead of me.
Right. No, I was ahead of you in so many ways. No, no, just age wise, like credit hours wise, all of that good stuff. And I didn't transfer schools. You were back from Southern, back
Right.
at Southwestern, living in like the upperclassmen housing or whatever. And so I'm down visiting the family that I had left in town, which is very proximate to the campus.
Small
And
town.
What was it, like a Sunday, a Saturday, just like
Maybe so, but
2
I'm just gonna
o'clock
have
in the
you paint.
afternoon?
I'm just gonna have you paint the picture.
It's really sad. Like, it's not really sad. It was just funny because I know that Brad didn't want me to catch him in this moment and was like just befuddled that I had. So I'm driving down the street. I'm in my granny's Honda CRV, so he doesn't recognize me. I'm going out to get some Sonic for the family or something, and I'm going down Old Betsy by the campus, and I just see this like large white figure off in the distance, like lumbering across the street. And I look over and I'm thinking, oh wow, let's see what the riffraff in the adult housing at Southwestern, has to offer.
Keene's finest, baby.
Keene's finest. Just because there's been a series of characters that have lived in that.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. It's always been, the 8th year theology student that has too many opinions in Sabbath school or something of that nature. Right. But anyway, so I finally established that it's Brad, and then you were heavier then.
Yeah.
You were not on your game. You were heavier. You were in an oversized white t-shirt, white basketball pants, I believe black Velcro sandals, and you had been jonesing for a Subway footlong, and you were just lumbering out, sleep in your eyes.
So those not aware, in Keene, basically the only two places you can eat.
Everybody.
Yeah. So anyone listening to this, if you are unaware of what's in Keene, you basically have two options to eat. You have a Sonic or a Subway, and Subway was right across the street from the villa, and
Brad was visiting it that day.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I just see, honestly, I didn't see this sad, pathetic figure. It was more just that I pulled over and I'm in a shiny new CRV that wasn't even mine. I've got my hair done. I'm ready for like funeral festivities, but it's also like a family reunion. So
and I'm wearing like a t-shirt that I got from Dollar General.
And you're walking to Dollar General.
Right.
And so you could just see the embarrassment on B-Rad's face. Yeah. Like, hey man, like I'm almost out of here. Like, this isn't me anymore.
Yeah, I do remember like having to clarify, like I'm good.
Well, and that was at the peak of like my, I was flying close to the sun and my wings had not yet been burnt yet.
Yeah. And we hadn't reconnected.
Yeah.
And so like, you knew that I had, broken up with my ex and everything. So
I just knew the bare fundamentals, dude.
Right.
Like I was like,
exactly.
Catch me up from the last thing.
So the last thing that I wanted was for us to be running into each other at that point, like where it looks like I don't have my life together or anything. Whenever I'm really just, strolling on a Sunday probably. And
you're just having a hair down day.
Yeah, it was chill. Wasn't trying to impress anyone, man. You should have told me you were rolling through.
Well, figured you'd graduated or something by that point, but I guess I was wrong.
Well, Southern screwed me on my credits, and that's a story for another time.
Okay. Well, all that to say that it's good to be back in the Mecca that is Keene. I met you at the Mizpah Gate here several months ago prior to starting this podcast. And
right when I moved back.
Congratulations on, this is our 8th week of getting together and doing this podcast. I think last week we eclipsed the 10-hour, 45-minute mark of content created. So episode 8 of the first season, I'm excited to get that in the books, and then we'll have to do some creative, fancy footwork with our schedules for next week.
Yes,
with it being Thanksgiving
break.
Yeah.
I'll be in Austin, but we'll still provide some
When
content.
do you go to Austin?
Probably Monday.
So you're off all next week?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is that how the collegiate level works as well?
Yeah, sometimes they actually get more time off.
Yeah, I figured that they would, but it seems like they would just have the week.
I'm thinking for Thanksgiving, yeah. I think their Christmas break is longer.
Didn't it seem like they restricted some of those holidays to a smaller scale when we were in college? Like, didn't we go from like, it used to be like a full week for Thanksgiving down to 3 days, or it was something weird.
Definitely. But the cool thing, like, I love working at this school because instead of taking those holidays, like, I don't know, some schools get Columbus Day off or MLK or Veterans Day or different things like that. We actually go into work on those days, and then we have an entire week off, an extra week off in January. So we have a winter break and a spring break. So, Thanksgiving break is this weekend. I'm here for 2 weeks, and then we have Christmas break. I get back, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm on winter break, and really enjoying that.
Winter break. I like all the different breaks that you guys have. It's so convenient.
So whenever CTA, so I'm working at CTA, Chisholm Trail Academy. Back whenever I was in grade school, I was at Burton Adventist Academy, and CTA was actually our rivals, and we would call them Constantly Traveling Academy because they were always gone. Like, they were never in school. Academy. So I'm actually, now I gloat about it now that I'm a part of the crew.
Was CTA thought of as the more illustrious school compared to Burton?
So.
Why? Just because it was like closer to the Mecca?
I mean, they were always going on all these trips, and they were right next to Southwestern, the university, and so I just feel like they were catered to more, which rightfully so. Now that I'm here,
yeah, it really makes sense.
I'm like, yeah, I'll take another free backpack. Are you kidding me?
Swag. That's too funny. All right. Well, I turn 30 years old tomorrow. My 20s end tonight, and I'm spending it in Keene, Texas. What is wrong with me?
How does it feel?
Man, it's, I don't know. You definitely start to get more intentional. Like, I want to buy a house, or I want to get some property. Like, I don't know. You start to look at things and like, what can I set up? Like, I don't know, man. It's interesting just to think that you go from 9 to 10 and you go from 19 to 20. And I definitely remember going from 19 to 20 and feeling, oh, wow, like, this is just a lot more validation,
Right.
Like, I'm clearly much higher in the food chain now as a result of being 20 rather than 19. And so just thinking like, wow, I've only gone through 3 of these, or I'm going through 3 of these thus far in life. You start to realize, like, I've got 4 good ones left, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
You think so?
Yeah, man. Like, we're only going to live to be 70, 80, 90,
That's true. I mean,
I want to live to be at least 79 to 89, and I would love to go in like a quick, fiery car crash or something where I don't want my mind to outlast my body. I don't want my body to outlast my mind.
That's what I'm scared of, being trapped in your body and not being able to communicate. That's a fear.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you were still in your prime?
Yeah.
And so, not to throw you off or anything, but what's like one of the biggest life lessons or takeaways from this past decade of your life?
That's a great question. Just to be patient, breathe it out, be a little bit more meditative in life, so to speak. I don't know. I think that a lot of my 20s was plagued with, you know, um, just being impetuous. And I had to defend my professional resume in an interview last night. I met at the WeWork over on McKinney Avenue in Uptown Dallas, and met on this beautiful patio overlooking the city. We had an outdoor meeting from 5 to 7. It was our third meeting, I believe, and we've kind of had a very untraditional interview process, me and this particular company. And, the guy said, if you could just, you know, appease me for a few minutes and go through this exercise with me. And he walked me through. He was like, okay, he wasn't as concerned about what happened at each position. He was more like, tell me how you went from position to position.
Right.
And as a result, I did a heavy LinkedIn scrutinization and revision session today. But what I had to come down to was like, I've been highly effective in many of my roles, and I've done great things, and I've had great little stories of, yeah, well, I recruited this guy that went over to this agency, and then I joined him. We overlapped for several years, and then we started a company together, and like it's all groovy. But a lot of the departures and like in betweens were very emotionally based, is what I
Right.
realized. And I'd known that, but I hadn't, like, when I really had to defend from 21, from leaving this town. When I was here at Southwestern, I was a communications major. I wanted to be working for a top 20 ad agency out of Dallas. That didn't happen upon graduation. And, I had I've had a lot of great experience, and I wouldn't redo everything over. There were certain things that potentially I would take a second look at. But yeah, I mean, if there's any 20-year-old kids out there listening to this, like, just calmly breathe, meditate every day, stay grounded, um, try to save as much money as possible. Like, freedom can be bought with, personal financial propriety.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
if you manage your personal burn rate, and ultimately, like, I think on the relationship front and love and all of that stuff, I don't normally like to get into all of that stuff too publicly. But what I would say is that I think that Disney and Hollywood and all of these entities have kind of programmed certain people, like maybe myself, maybe this is my own personal reflection, but you always think that somebody's going to come into your life and everything's going to change. It's like, oh, the boss's daughter took a shining to you as you got the job of your dreams. Like, I felt like we were always channeling like Shia LaBeouf, like from the Transformers movies. Whenever
Right.
he would go get some awesome job way out of his pay grade and some hot
Yeah,
girlfriend,
Megan
really supportive
Fox.
parents. Like, yeah, I think that ultimately with both your friends and whoever you're coupled with or partnered with, or even dating, they're not going to go away. Like, just because you quit dating them, they're going to go on to do the lives that they're going to live. And it's ultimately just a decision about who you're going to couple yourself with, and who's familiar with you. And I don't even know what I'm trying to really articulate there, other than, like, it used to be when you were 20 and a friend talked behind your back. Well, now you have drama, you have beef
Yeah.
with that friend. And now I realize that people sometimes say something behind another close friend's back, but it's not really meant with any malicious intent or anything. It's more just like sharing the information that you have about that person and catching
Yeah.
up with somebody that, oh, here's something that we have in common, and that everybody's going to continue being friends.
Yeah.
Like, we've had enough time and track record as adults at this point to disagree with different decisions that we've all made as friends.
Yeah, like you
in
don't
our
always
adult
have
lives.
to see eye to eye, and that's not, as long as that doesn't infringe upon like your beliefs or my beliefs or whoever's beliefs, like there's still an understanding. You can still, find common ground and, still care about one another.
I think maybe my reflection or observation is that when you're 20 and you don't see eye to eye on certain things, often it signals the end of the relationship to a large extent. Whereas when you're reflecting on your 30-year-old friends and the people that you've had in your life for years,
Yeah.
you've already,
There's so much life.
the things that you're optimizing for, the things that you're thinking about, like, politics, religion, beliefs, family planning, estate planning, career planning. Once you've gotten to the point where you're like still friends at 27 or 28, maybe it's like, okay, the things that we don't always see eye to eye on are things that we can still get over and have brunch together this Sunday.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, this is the major that I want to pursue, so it's probably going to, make me go to grad school in these different locations, and you're never going to be in any of those like locations or have an interest in this particular topic.
Yeah. So let's not waste that time.
Right. So I don't know. It's just, does that do any justice to the question that you asked
No,
me?
absolutely. Yeah.
Be more patient, understand that everything is a decision and that everything stays with you for life, and that your brand is something that, your brand is the story that people tell about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah. And I think another word synonymous with brand in this situation would be like your character.
Yeah, exactly.
For just
I'm like my commercial
well,
character.
yeah, because you're a businessman and everything, but for those that aren't like in that sphere or
who aren't animals.
Just your character.
Yeah, no, I think that a big part of that also is just the passing of, key figures in my life, like my grandparents, and hearing what people had to say about them at the casket, graveside funeral service. Jordan Peterson, not to invoke any, self-help or anything like that, but I think that Jordan Peterson, with his teachings and YouTube videos and his books and different things like that, he's inspired a lot of young men, myself included, to kind of, he had this saying like, be the man that you want to be at your, I think it was your father's funeral or something like that.
Mm.
And I had my grandfather's funeral this year, and I feel like your CD-ROM just went nuts. I had, the passing of both grandfathers in the last couple of years. And so I feel like at 30, I'm just staring down the face of trying to become the man that I want to be for at least my grandfather's funerals.
Right.
And understanding that signals the shift in the chapter of life where I'm in the 30 to 60 range now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's 0 to 30, ramp up, 30 to 60, produce, and then 60 to 90, tail off, and inevitably go back in the pasture and die.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to see, oh, granddaddy just eclipsed, the third trimester of life. And my parents are just now entering their second, their third.
Right.
And I'm entering my second. And the amount of like production and I'm just using that word to say, I need to go make some millions of dollars in my career so that I can set up something that can be passed down to future generations. If I'm going to have future generations, I have to make those plans in the next, 10 years,
Yeah. See, because I was about to ask you, like, at this point in your life, about to turn 30, I was just going to ask, like, what is it that you're talking about how people will talk about you at your funeral. Like, what does that look like for you? How do you want to be seen, or like what kind of legacy is it that you want to leave behind?
I feel like those goalposts definitely move.
Yeah.
I think that what I deem to be important or what I would want to hear relayed at a funeral of mine changes almost every year, definitely every 5 or 10 years.
Interesting.
I think it's in the process of evolving heavily right now.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're all on the kids train and all this stuff. I still don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I want to eke one out when I'm 45, just to pass down the name and, but I am understanding of the fact that every year that goes by, the more you want to see yourself in like a little robot running around taking over the world.
Yeah, man. Little mini me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that you have those, desires and urges.
I absolutely want to have kids. I look forward to it.
How many?
3 tops.
So 3
tops. I don't know. That's
people that say 3 at the most want 3 kids.
As long as I can, financially support my, along with my spouse, financially support them. I know that's what's crazy. Like, I would rather have, 1 or 2 kids and, be able to give them the world than have 3 and like kind of be struggling. You know what I mean? Like,
well, man, if you're giving 2 kids the world in the 2020s, good for you. And I think that part of
I
that.
mean, I'm not going to be doing it by teaching here, but
Sure.
I'm going to need a little bit better office.
Yeah, but the point of country versus city remains. I realized that the reason why a lot of my peers left uptown Dallas, left downtown Dallas, left Turtle Creek, and all of the more costly per square foot areas, if you will, to go to the suburbs and buy either fixer-uppers or, first homes and then flip it for a profit or whatever the case may be, is because, to go buy the home, I guess I'm not the person that wants to grow in homes. I want to go get the dream home first,
Yeah.
and just put all of my, compounding value into that home.
Okay.
Go get the crappiest home in Highland Park on the block, but put everything I have into that. And then in 30 years, you live in Highland Park.
Yeah. Reap the reward.
Yeah. But I think, if I was out here in Burleson, Keene, Forney, Crowley, wherever, where you can go get a home for, I'm sure, $100,000,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of insane to think about.
Right. Yeah. Another reason why I kind of decided to move back here was just, we've talked about this in multiple episodes now, but just how expensive the East Coast was on a teacher salary was just not really cutting it for me. So, and we've talked about me wanting to own a house and everything. So still looking into that.
Are you looking to be a person that grows, like our friend Jake, who does really well in the corporate world, also does well on the, private flipping side of things, because he and his wife Liz bought their first home in the Carrollton area several years ago and flipped it for a profit of tens of thousands of dollars and built their own dream home.
I'm all about that.
And I'm thinking to myself, I was talking about this with another friend of ours who is, he's well paid, wants to be even more well paid, but he doesn't own anything outright per se, like doesn't own a home, doesn't have equity in like things that are appreciating. And so I realized in that moment, I'm like, Jake is so much richer than the rest of us in that, he's already made the types of money that you make when you flip a home, when you're making, like if you and a spouse are pulling six figures each or even aggregate, and you're building that kind of value in a real estate property, and then you're flipping it and you're putting equity into a new home, and the rest of us are still renting, we're still crashing on couches or whatever. I mean, those people are putting up generational wealth.
Right.
And that's the thing that I'm privy to, is that I don't feel ready for all of that stuff quite yet. But I realize that if I don't make it a priority, make a plan around it, and get on it here in the next 5 years, that it's likely not going to happen for me on a timetable where I could still enjoy it to the fullest.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing you had kind of asked me. I want to own a house, and then I'm not the type that's like, okay, we need to set our roots here, and all the kids are going to grow up in this one house for the next 20 years, and then we'll see them all.
People.
Like I don't need that, and so I'm all about putting money into a house and flipping it, just like you said. That's kind of the plan, but I have to own it. Like I loathe the idea of putting money into something that I don't own and have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, it even seems as your rent expenses increase, it's like, okay, you're paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in rent, and you're not going to just put that money towards a mortgage. But the thing that gets everybody is that they don't have, I guess, the $50,000 or $100,000 that they would need for a down payment. So in some ways, I'm like, should I just be saving? And the minute I have like however much for the down payment, I just put it all in, like put all my poker chips into the middle, and then pray that property taxes and Angie's List expenses don't come into play.
I mean, I'll let you know how it works out, I guess.
Yeah, seriously. Dude, we're coming every day is closer to the day that you call that realtor, and I just can't believe that in 6 months' time you're going to be activating a search for your first piece of the rock.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
So let's get into some new stuff, I guess. I don't have any Wi-Fi coverage here, or LTE even.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
AT&T is just terrible in Keene. But did you see that 2 guards got arrested and charged?
Oh, yes.
The Epstein stuff. I read the article on the way down while I was driving.
Yeah.
Probably not the best. But so they got charged with like basically falsifying reports of checking in on Epstein, and
So my question is it going to stop there? Like, are
no,
they okay?
it's not.
Okay,
We've already been assured. In fact, I think Senator Ben Sass. Are you familiar with him?
I'm not.
He was the one that famously he was on Real Time with Bill Maher and was the interviewee talking about coming, like inviting Bill Maher to Nebraska to come work in the fields. And that's when Bill Maher infamously said the N word. He said,
Oh, yeah. I
and
do recall that episode.
I was watching that like live the night of, and I literally just like freaked out. And I was like, they're going to cancel Bill Maher. And Bill Maher is my favorite television, guy. Like,
Right.
I love that show. Anyway, Ben Sass was the one that famously was in that narrative and set that whole scenario up. Very strange by inviting him to come work in the fields, by the way. Anyway, he was quoted in the Yahoo News article that I read earlier today as having said, while this is great, we're in no way like shutting things down. This is still moving forward expeditiously and all of that.
Good to know.
I mean, this was like the first, I guess, official thing that had broken since
his death.
Yeah, basically. I feel like Joe Rogan is the only one that's been elevating the status of that and
Twitter
Project Veritas stuff.
yeah,
but Joe Rogan himself, he did like 8 Instagram posts and tweets the other day, or series of days, about Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, and he's talked about it on virtually every podcast. I was listening to his podcast with Matt. I think it's Matt Talib or Matt Talibi on the way down here.
Okay.
Who is a really interesting journalist who has a lot of insight on some of this stuff. Might be worth a check out, but I'm sure that he's going to have to update. He's going to come out with new reflections now that it's broken that those 2 cops are. Here's the main question though: who paid them? Why did they falsify reports? Like,
yeah,
I doubt that this was just a stereotypical government employee asleep on the job situation.
Nah, there's a grander scandal that we'll be reporting here in the next few weeks or months to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was hearing about.
But what if these 2 guards?
I'm saying, what if they squeal?
Or what if they end up dying?
No,
come on,
I hadn't even thought about that. But there's 2 guards. One of them has been employed since 2016.
If they're smart, they would kill themselves, right?
Well, here's the question. Don't we just have to ask them, like, who paid you? Of course, then they're going to say, well, the prison warden paid us. And then you're going to go to the prison warden and he's going to say, Chuck Schumer called me. And Chuck Schumer's going to be like, Bill Clinton called me. Yeah. And, well, Prince Andrew called him, Yeah.
Crazy.
I heard that I think the Prince Andrew implications were what helped bury it from mainstream media for so long, because think about all of the royal births and weddings that have occurred over the last decade, essentially.
Right.
Since Kate Middleton came into the picture, and they've had 2 children now.
I believe so.
I guess that the logic that like Matt on JRE from Saturday's episode was talking about was just that if we run this story, we may not be able to have the exclusive photos of, Harry and Meghan Markle, or, Prince William's new baby, or whatever.
Man, they will not leave Meghan Markle alone, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what's going. It wasn't her. She was linked to somebody. I'm trying to think about what the connection is here.
I can't remember lately. I mean, honestly, it's just hard to keep, like, her just wanting to be a normal mom and not really do the whole royalty thing. And
I forgot she's pregnant, isn't she?
Yeah.
I think that the link that I was thinking about was that journalists that were responsible for promoting Brexit had also been critical of Meghan Markle and her ascent to the throne, and maybe had some dog whistle, semi-racist type language.
Yeah, that sounds somewhat familiar too. I know that she's also constantly, just her appearance, which I think she's beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
She'll always be Rachel Zane from Suits.
Yes, Suits, man.
She is, dude, we were all in love with her.
Yes.
I mean, she's beautiful, and she was always dressed like a paralegal in like pencil skirts and high heels and
somehow they're tearing her to shreds just over her appearance, which is wild.
Well, I mean,
because she's not,
we're critiquing her as a good-looking actress in this scenario, and they're critiquing her as somebody who's inheriting the throne.
okay.
But
And
I don't know.
They haven't all been lookers though.
No, I mean, very few of them, actually. I think
Right.
Kate Middleton was actually a very attractive choice that also was like right down the middle of what Prince William had to choose from. Like
Yeah.
he went the right route. He went the eldest son route, and went and got the stereotypical watch out, your thing is on the cord. I don't want that to don't go back on it. Okay, good. Just don't rock back and forth.
Sorry, guys. Freak out moment from Carson.
If that power cord gets...
I was just adjusting my back. The laptop will not die immediately if it's unplugged. It would last about 30 minutes, so we're good.
Yeah, but forever Rachel Zane to both you and me. So you were a Suits fan too.
Oh, yeah. But I'm all about Donna.
Oh, yes.
She's amazing. If you've seen the show, Donna is, just... She's always there when she needs to be. Like, she's just always looking out for Harvey Specter.
And everybody
she's just
wants to be Harvey
bombshell,
Specter.
Yeah.
We want to be Harvey Specter, but we also want to be under the tutelage of Harvey Specter and the
Right.
protection of Harvey Specter, and the mind share that Harvey and Donna have in that show is so sexy. Like,
Yeah.
the unwritten communication that they have, like her intrinsic knowledge of what comes next, like what needs to be done, their ability to communicate with just a look. Oh,
Yeah.
that show is very sexually charged, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension.
There's a lot of sexy lawyers in that show.
Yeah. And in reality, we're all just Lewis Litt.
Yeah. Wow. Lewis Litt, he's a great actor, by the way.
Phenomenal.
Rick Hoffman, right?
Yeah.
Or Rick Hoffman?
Hoffman, I believe.
What else have we seen him in?
I personally haven't seen him in anything else.
I'm going to look up his
But,
IMDb when I get back.
I don't
the
imagine he's that character in person, or he would be incorrigible. But
Incorrigible.
yeah.
But going back to Meghan Markle real quick, she's just been plagued by... If she had been a white American, this would have gone smoother for her.
Yep.
If she had been a white British woman, this would have gone even smoother for her.
Yep.
If she'd been a white British woman from a family that should have been considered by whatever criterion they use, which I don't even know what qualified the Middleton sisters to be candidates for...
I believe you just gave the 2 qualifications already.
Well, I think that there's even more excessive
No, I know.
tiers that you have to scale through. But I just think that overall, it's been really interesting to correlate what's happened in Great Britain and the United States, and really great portions of the world, where you see a lot of like kind of right-wing leaning movements occurring, in addition to left-wing movements, but just like independence and sovereignty and, individuality and
Yeah.
almost isolationist type tactics. It's been spreading. They voted to Brexit prior to us voting for Trump.
Right.
I was listening to this, somebody was saying something to the effect of, it would be like a Chinese Trojan horse of thinking 15 steps ahead for Democrats to actually have been the ones that, put Donald Trump up for election, just because we're moving in so many different socialist and almost communistic, especially with like our communication being surveyed and tapped into, and all of the different agencies that have free reign over our privacy. Like, we're giving up rights, we're giving up freedoms, we're giving up a lot of different stuff, even our right to certain types of free speech, as a result of having the most extreme point of view on all those on all those fronts.
Yep.
In the Oval Office.
Yeah. I actually talked a lot about privacy with my students today. Whenever we first started this podcast, I gave you the list of books that we had been reading, and one of them was 1984. Well, we finally finished the book, and they're actually being tested on it this week, Thursday and Friday. And so I've already given the test review, so I was just kind of giving them examples, of going down different ways that government has perhaps tried to control us in today's world, and, just making the book more relevant. And so I had pulled up a bunch of different articles about, security cameras and different things. And Then we just got to something as simple as, your social media presence, and whether or not, jobs, your, job opportunities, uh, you know, companies that you're wanting to work for, if they look into things that you've posted in the past, and they're like, oh, well, they shouldn't judge me like off of what I posted like 5 years ago or a year ago. And I had one girl say, she's like, somebody can even change within a month or, a week, a day. Like, who's to say where you draw the line on where a person can change, and why should they be punished for something that's in the past? And so I just told them, I was like, well, as an educator, you know, let's say, someday you have kids and you're wanting to send them to a school. So you look into the school and you look into um, all the staff and teachers. Perhaps, you stalk them on Facebook, or check them out on Twitter, and you're going through all of their feed and you see something that you don't like. Are you really going to feel safe like sending your kids to that school? Is that going to affect your decision? And she's like, well, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, that's why companies, are going to be looking into what you're posting. Like, I understand there's always room for growth, because that was one of her arguments, was like, well, shouldn't they want to hire us and, help us grow to be better people? And I'm like, well, in an ideal world, like
Wow.
that would be nice. Right. But
Yeah.
nobody's just going to hand that to
They're
you.
just going to wipe your
Yeah.
butt, give you a
I was-
paycheck. And
yeah, exactly. I'm like, you got to show consistency. And so it definitely matters.
But that point of like, I get your point. Like, wouldn't they want to work with you? I understand that you understand what we all know, that we can all change within a month's time or a day's time,
Yeah,
or a year's time,
absolutely.
whatever the case may be. It's interesting that they have that viewpoint. Like, I thought that Gen Z or whatever they are were more like with it, that this lasts forever. This is my life, like digitally. Whereas people from maybe my generation and up, like 30s,
Yeah.
40s, 50s and up, were like, they were more confused about that.
No,
But that goes back to my 30-year-old like reflections on my 20s, is just that more and more things are not necessarily that you can't do something because of X, Y, or Z. It's just more, this is the result. And to set yourself up for the most optimal results and to actually have a well planned life, it requires a lot of execution and dedication and
Yes.
perseverance. And like, you can't just be laissez faire, posting photos or doing whatever it is that you want and have no repercussions for the sentiment shared.
Dude, I have a kid who wants to go to med school in college, and he can't play basketball because he's failing like 3 classes. And I'm like, what about your current lifestyle, or the way that
What have you been told about med school?
Exactly. Like, he's like, oh, I'll just focus whenever I get to college. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, you have to like and this is like adults talking to us whenever we were in high school, and maybe I didn't heed their warning either, but like, you have to lay down the foundation now. Like, you have to set those habits now, or it's going to be a lot harder by the time you get to college. Like, this guy's a senior, he's going to be graduating in 6 months, and so all of a sudden he's just going to develop those studying skills, those studying habits and time management skills overnight. Probably not. And it's just, that's why I teach, is just trying to drill that into their heads, that like, hey, we're going to have a test over this book, but also like, life is about to happen. And if you go to like the university right across the street from here, you're going to be shoveling thousands of dollars. And like, if you don't I have friends right now that didn't graduate from Southwestern, who are paying off loans, and they dropped out, like, and they have nothing to show for it. So they wasted so much money, and um, they don't even have a diploma. And that, I would hate to see that for my kids. Like, they're still my students once they graduate from here. Like, I still check in on many of my students, the ones that I form relationships with, and it would just crush me to see that they haven't continued their education. Or I don't know. It would be okay if they didn't go to college, but should they? And to spend all that money and then not to finish out, like, I would hate that.
Yeah, I think we always want to see ROI for anything that we expend, be it energy or time or money. And when you're young, the premise is that you have nothing but time and energy and no money. So as long as they can identify a viable path forward, be it trade school, be it, if some of these kids, they could just already be a YouTube content creator and be a professional YouTuber making $200,000 a year for
Yeah,
all we
which
know.
is awesome.
But the big thing, if they fail at something for a year from 18 to 19, and then they go incur the debt or have to work the insane jobs to get through college and all that entails, you just hope that they're able to use that degree and all of that stuff.
Right.
But I would rather you waste a year working on something that teaches you a lot of things and you're not in the negative at the end of the time
Yes.
than for you to go to school for a year and then make all these decisions. And you're like, well, that experiment was not only a year of my time and effort, but it was also $30,000.
Exactly. And, I'm a full supporter of them. If they don't know what they want to do, or if they know that they don't have it all together right now, or they know that they need to save up money for college, community, whether that be community college or a more expensive university, then definitely, take a year off or do whatever you need to get it together. And then you can figure it out. Because, a lot of these kids, like, they have they have to ask to use the bathroom. Like, they have to ask me to go to the bathroom, today. And in 6 months, like, they're expected to make these huge life decisions about what they're going to do for the rest of their lives, which is pretty crazy. Like, I know that's asking a lot of them, especially, under the circumstances of, like, they're being told what to do pretty much every day. And now it's like, okay, well, here's the world. Good luck.
Just go out there.
And so, I'm definitely okay with them if they don't know exactly what they want to do, to take some time for that. I wholeheartedly agree.
Oh, I think that we should be stressing more bridge programs and national service and being a missionary, going, studying abroad, whatever it is that you're going to do, go learn another language or another way of life.
Yeah.
Because when you're 18, when I was 18, I thought I was an adult. I thought I was like a little man, and that everything in the world was stationary, and that everybody that had graduated college, they had their college identity, and they had their trade, they had their career, they had their trajectory, and that it was never going to change. And that I wanted to be the guy with the car and the job and the house and whatever.
Yeah.
And that there were no ups and downs associated with any of this, no delayed gratification or anything like that. And it's just, I was a child. I was a total child. Like, looking back, I was looking at a picture of John and I got tagged in a picture in Denton probably 8 years ago. And keep in mind that John is like years older than I am. He's probably 4 years older than I am. And he looked like a child in this photo. And he was probably 24 or 5.
Yeah.
And I just realized, like, you know how you think that there's people that are attractive today and they're 28, but you look back at photos of them at 21 and you're like, wow, they weren't as attractive at 21.
Yeah.
What is that about?
They hit their glow up late, man.
Or is that just something where humans are always looking a little bit different as time marches on? Like, nobody from the 1850s was sexy. None of those teeth gripping, teeth clenched photos, of mom, pa out in front of the cabin. None of those people were sexy.
Yeah.
Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
That was a fake retail. Michael Landon was not present on the 1850s prairie. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Landon died of dysentery first. They're like, you're too pretty for this here prairie boy.
That's right. Oh man, that's great.
So that's my question though. Like, is it just that? And I also think it's a camera situation too, in that all the cameras today are so much better. Like, the camera on your iPhone is so much better than the digital camera that you spent hundreds of dollars on back in 2008 when I was starting college.
Yeah. And I mean, people are getting haircuts more, that's all about that self-care. Like, women are going to their spas and everything. And
you think that amenities are more bountiful and easily accessible?
Exactly. I think that all those like high-end luxuries are now like more middle class, and like people are just, taking interest in their appearance a lot more, especially because, cameras are a lot nicer and, they want to look good and everything. But yeah, I've noticed like a lot with my students care so much more, and they dress so much better than any of us ever did whenever we were in grade school.
Well, yeah, because when we were in grade school, it was like, just get through it, like
Right.
Let's go to school and like do the spelling bee or buy the yo-yo or do whatever we need to do. But nowadays, I was hearing about this the other day, and I forget what the term was, but people are having to get so made up just to go to Soul Cycle or the Calf or
Yeah.
whatever it is that they're doing, because you never know if you're going to run into Mindy and she's going to want to do an Instagram post like, hey, no filter, look who I ran into.
You never know who you're going to run into while you're walking the street over to Subway, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess iPhones weren't as great back then in 2014 because you look like a beached walrus just lumbering across Old
Ooh.
Betsy to get a onion-filled sandwich. No, you look a lot better now.
Well,
you look all GQ'd out.
Appreciate that.
You got a firm jawline, and you run though now.
A little bit, yeah. Ran 6 miles this past weekend. I did some insanity yesterday morning.
I love how you're like, I run a little bit, and then you're like, I ran 6 miles.
Well, I only say a little bit because I don't do it consistently every day. So I ran a lot that day. I'll concede, but I need to be more consistent with it.
I would really love to layer on becoming a runner to my current regimen. Like, I really feel like a lot of things would fall into place health-wise, like everything-wise, if I were to just incorporate 3-mile jogs a week.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any before or after? And not on, I don't care about your weight or like your gut or anything like
I just look
vanity.
Healthier. Like,
right. I want to know about your cognitive performance, and if you, I want to know about the runner's
high. A lot
high.
more easily.
Okay. Your sleep was probably better.
Yeah, man. It's awesome. I wake up with more energy. Like, even though, I'm exerting myself and exercise, like, I go to bed tired, but I wake up with a lot more energy. Like, I've noticed, just working out these 2-3 times in the past week and a half, like, I'm up before my alarm, and my alarm is at 5:30 every morning. So I'm ready.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's extreme.
Yeah, my weeks are pretty crazy.
No professional job that I've ever had has required me to be up at 5:30 a.m.
So,
and you and Grizz, Sierra gets up at 4:30 a.m.
See, that's wild. In Maryland, I lost like 20 pounds in Maryland because I was working out with our athletic director there, and we had to get to the gym by 5 every day.
Oh, jeez.
That's why I've packed on a few more pounds since then, because I prefer sleep. But yeah, man, I definitely, go run, eat your veggies, get that energy. I wake up so early because, we have staff meeting at 7:15, and then I see my kids at 7:45, and I just don't want to walk into my classroom all groggy. Like, I know they're all tired, and so I really feel like it's my job to, amp them up for the day and get them started. And if I'm expecting them to be awake, I definitely need to be.
Oh, for sure. Any job like a teacher or manager, I realize that management requires the early waking hours simply because you have to set the tone for what's going to occur that day.
No doubt.
At least in certain management positions, you have to be there. You have to command the intrinsic respect of, people's perceived dedication of your job.
Yes.
And also just have everything set up, because the management portion is just superfluous. It's like, here's additional work on top of the real work that you have to do. So you better get to the office early and grind through some of that. Like, it was the whole reason why when I was at the Boss Group, we would have we had what we would call chunking hours. So this is, nothing like teaching, obviously, but I was a business development manager for a creative, interactive, and marketing recruiting firm called the Boss Group in Dallas.
Yeah.
And we would have these things called chunking hours where we would go into like a room with a phone, and it's like a blank room, and you literally just like have 20 phone calls in front of you on a status sheet, and you march through all of them. And you might leave 10 voicemails, make 5 voice-to-voice connections, and have 5, hang-ups or something like that. And you're supposed to document all of it in the CRM. And we would stay late one night a month, and we would do the 5 to 7 p.m. chunking hours, because that's when you would connect with all the managers, all the creative directors, all the directors of marketing, all the directors of HR, because everybody had left for the day. So now they can finally do their job.
Yeah.
So how many hours a week do you work? I feel like
outside of work.
Well, yeah, that's the weird thing. Being academy based, like, because Grizz works like 7:30 to 5. It seems like Sierra works like maybe 7 to 1.
I mean, are we including
you work
like
weekends?
I work weekend
and nights. And
a lot of times I do weekend. I have to come in on the weekends to grade, because like if we're including athletics, like I told you, as soon as we're done recording here, I'm going into the gym and like I'm announcing the girls and boys basketball games, and I sit on the boys bench. So I'm probably out of here on literally Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And this is if it's a home game where I don't have to travel anywhere. I'm out of here by 9:30. If it's an away game, I typically ride the bus with the boys just so I can connect with them and hype them up. And we don't get back here until 10, and then I have to drive home. And so, if we're including all the extracurriculars, like
it's like 100.
I'm here all the time. And then, students texting me, like, I tell you about my students that, text me for advice and stuff. Like, I still feel like I'm on the job there. Like I want to be that person. I want to be there for them, but it still definitely works. So I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to be like cliche, the teacher's like never off the job, but that honestly, that's how I feel. Like,
Well, whether you're a teacher at a religious school or a secular school, a private school, whatever, it's definitely a calling.
yeah,
And I guess that you just have to view it in terms of hours commitment as a real calling, because the whole, um, you know, get off work at 3, have 2 months off, have your nights and weekends and all of this promise that I feel like a lot of teachers are sold is not the case with these Christian schools, with these high performing like charter schools, with any type of, if you're involved with sports and academia, like, I mean, these are just you're describing the days where you teach and then have to go to these different games, much less the weeks where you have to go drive a school bus or a van full of kids to some remote camp or,
our kids just had drama camp this past weekend. Gymnastics left 2 weeks ago. Like I said, constantly traveling academy. Like they're going everywhere, and a lot of times I'm on those trips too. Like we talked about me going to freshman Bible camp, and there are 2 trips that I'm going to be going to after Christmas. So,
goodness, man,
yeah,
it becomes such a large part of your identity. Like, you never clock out and go home and kick your feet up and,
Dude,
get out.
I mean, I showed you the text, our last recording, or maybe 2 ago.
It was 2 weeks ago. We were at dinner.
Where we went to dinner, and my student texted me while we were at dinner, the one that we kind of give a hard time. But, he texted me with another issue. Like, it happens all the time.
Yeah, that kid, he needs one of those, like, this many days since last spill or last accident. Like,
nah, he has a rough home life, so I don't mind being that guy for him.
Well, I didn't know that, podcast fam. So
yeah, that's true. I'm not going to paint you to be
Brad.
You didn't know that.
Brad threw him out for podcast fodder for multiple weeks without telling me that apparently negative situation.
He a lot of those decisions he makes are still on his own, so I don't mind. I poke fun at him all the time, but dude, I love that guy.
I personally think that 80% of children in homes are probably in danger. Like,
dude,
I really do feel like you have to be so prepared, so knowledgeable, so full of resources and time and all of this to really give your child not only like a good upbringing, but one that makes the child feel like they're enabled and empowered to accomplish their dreams and pursue their passions, even real time. Because like, dude, just think about the clothes. The fact that they're growing like a weed. Like, I'm seeing all these girls on Facebook. Like, I've got 0 to 6 month old baby clothes, and I see these babies. We have a friend that we went to college with here. She posted a photo of like her baby in this, Sunday best the other day, and I'm thinking, I don't have a new Sunday best outfit, and this baby does, and he's gonna wear it one time, and that's insane. People are buying Jordans for their 0 to 12-month-year-old.
Yeah.
12-month-year-old.
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like you would need $1 million in liquid assets per child to start procreating.
Yeah. And just going back to like, just parenting or a lack thereof, like, man, my first year of teaching, the kids that I connected with, like, I had students where their father, like, is in prison and, had offered them cocaine whenever they were like 11 years old. I had a kid who was gay and his mom like made him stop making him food and like told him to pray the gay away. Like, these are things that, these
Those
kids,
are two very different parents,
they,
by the way. One is
yeah,
offering their child cocaine, and the other one is saying,
yeah,
"Don't be gay." Those are
right.
in. Yeah.
But, on, whatever end of, the spectrum or whatever, there are a lot of things that, like, we don't realize, like, perhaps our classmates went through that they never shared with us, or, um, kids that I'm not close with who haven't opened up to me, just knowing that there's potential. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great parents that I do deal with, but there's a lot that are going through a really difficult time. So, um, that's why I'm on 24/7, baby.
Yeah, and if you haven't set it up, if you haven't set your life up in a way that by having a child, you're going to be like, if you're going through a hard time as a parent, I'm just saying that more people should set up their lives to where they mitigate potential hard times to the nth degree prior to having children. Like, if you are paycheck to paycheck and you are, trying to get pregnant, I question that
Yep.
personally. Granted,
No.
I'm a man, I'm a fiscal conservative in many ways, definitely socially liberal, but that's just my own personal 2 cents. And then I see these other people that, they're, I don't know.
I see. I'm on this wave of, like, everybody should be able to make their own decision about their own life. But on the other hand, like, some of those decisions that you want to make are just so stupid. Like, why would you ever have a kid if you could not provide a good life for that? Like,
Well, and
I understand there's hardships, people get laid off, like, certain things that you can't prepare for. But if you know that you are living paycheck to paycheck, just you, and you're still wanting to have kids, like, sometimes you need a little more than just, like, I want one. Like, it needs to be, there needs to be more. I don't know.
right, but this goes in keeping with the student debt conversation and college choice conversation that if you're not sure, if you made decisions at 20 to, get a major that you now at 25 no longer use or something like that, what makes you qualified to be a parent at that point? Like, if you're changing core things like what I want to do with my life,
Yeah.
what I want to be known for, don't you think other things like,
Yeah, and
children,
and this is
even
including
spouse.
this is including men too, because you make that decision too. Like,
No,
yeah, I just want.
I'm specifically speaking to men
Okay.
more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, men need to be careful, women need to be careful, but women are generally 6 years ahead of men, right? Like, they're
Yeah,
always
and this
ahead.
conversation, like, I'm strictly talking, like, consensual,
Yeah.
everything.
No, I'm saying, where did that come from?
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to cover my ground because, people do have babies out of, like,
Okay. I'm saying people that want to get pregnant at whatever age that
right.
I'm saying men's brains aren't fully formed until they're 25, and any decision that I made up until last week was probably largely emotional, ego driven, testosterone driven, and up for review.
Yeah.
And I'm self-aware of that, and I'm probably even a little bit more self-critical than most would be, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not commenting on if you pop up pregnant against your will or anything like that.
Right. I know.
And I do think that we need strong.
And I know that you're not saying that,
pro-choice.
but just for the listener, like, I just want to clarify, especially, we talked about cancel culture last week. Like, I just want it to be known that we're talking about dumb decisions based on, consensual partners having kids.
There should be services made available to young people that have pregnancies against their will, and that have pregnancies that they decide, oh, wow, this would be a dumb idea. I think that service should also be available to them as well.
Yep.
And I probably am alone in that opinion, but as
You're not.
long as the world is turning, I heard about, with the more restrictive abortion laws that they're passing in some of the southern states, there was an 11-year-old that was going to have to carry a child to term. And I was like, that's criminal.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. That's just so wrong.
Right.
So I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to feel like you're out on that ledge alone.
No, I mean, it seems like just common sense that, and I have
if
personal...
you don't like it, then it's not going to affect you. Okay? Like, let them do what they need to with their body. I don't know.
Right. But
I do know. I'm not going to say I don't know.
It's hard because we claim to have this separated government, from church and state. And
if it doesn't fall in line with your beliefs, not everybody in this world's a Christian. So Jesus just told us to love them. Like,
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of other religions though that would be
Offended by it. I know.
offended by pro-choice standpoints and things like that, but that's an argument for another day.
Yeah,
So,
we can get into that.
what other conspiracies you got? So
Oh,
Epstein definitely didn't kill himself.
Right.
We're making headway with the jail guards. I'm really hoping that those guys just roll over and they're like, "Yeah, Billy Clinton called us and offered us a speech."
yeah,
If we would, do whatever. But the larger thing is, if they were fabricating reports of having checked on the inmates and different things like that, what did they do to the video cameras? And who did they see pass into the jail?
yeah.
Either inmate, guard, or third party that walked over there and could have done something to Epstein.
We need answers, baby.
Yeah, man, that one. We also got the impeachment. We had another full day
There's
of hearings
another
there.
trial today, right?
Mike Pence had this aide out there, and he's the one that's famous for he won't go to dinner alone with a woman without his wife present. He has the Billy Graham. Have you ever heard the Billy Graham methodology?
Hit me.
Billy Graham would never be alone with a woman that was not his wife because he knew that in his large leading role within the faith that apostates would come and try to make him sin or embroil him in sin. And case in point, there was one day that he was on an elevator and a woman walked in to the elevator and she was in a big trench coat. And as the elevator doors were shutting, she turns around, drops the trench coat, apparently is either naked or very provocatively dressed. And there's a photographer waiting right outside the elevator to capture that photo, which was obviously staged.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to our original point, Mike Pence is one of those weirdos. And he had one of his aides testifying in Capitol Hill today, and she was kind of hot. Not going to lie.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was weird. Like, that her lawyer was actually chiming in for her. It was weird because she was giving testimony, but her lawyers were also the lawyers from the vice president's office, which is a part of the administration. So the warring factions, you had this other guy that was a lieutenant colonel that was actually born in the Ukraine. And I think he was born in the Ukraine, or his parents were, and he was brought here, and all of his brothers served in the armed forces. And so he's been called to task for these impeachment hearings, and he seemed to be going much harder on kind of the president and giving sound bites and different things like that. But she seemed to be answering things, deferring more to the legal team.
Okay.
Because that was the thing I was hearing talked about yesterday, is that some of these people have not resigned yet. Some of these people are still in active positions. They're being called on to testify, and that Trump is basically live tweeting the testimony and like scaring them and witness intimidation and tampering, and they have to go back to roles within his administration that maybe they'll feel welcome, maybe they won't.
So if they offer up or hesitate or do anything, that displeases them,
it's hard to know which foot to lift in that position, so to speak. But I'm sure we'll have more for you on that next week.
That's right.
Hopefully we'll have figured out who murdered Epstein, and maybe that person will be the next president of the United States. I don't know. Buttigieg takes the lead in Iowa hardcore. Like, he's up to like 25%. He was in the latest poll that I saw, he was 9 points ahead of the closest rival.
Really?
And Biden has pretty much, he really stepped in it. He created the biggest gaffe ever this week. In addition to the record player and all these different things that he said throughout this debate season, he said that marijuana is a gateway drug and that he would not legalize it. And it was like, all right, Grandpa,
he's out.
Time to go back to the farmhouse and enjoy some cookies. Like, you idiot.
Yeah.
Start the timer on his candidacy.
He's not going to be lasting that long, especially, I don't know, marijuana is like widely popular in multiple states now, and I know that they're trying to get it legalized here in Texas. There's no way he's going to win over everyone. Like, people are, talking about using it solely for medical reasons now, and just for them to lose that. They'd definitely be against.
I can't believe that he said that as
idiot.
A Democrat. Like, that's one of their main positions. Like, Bill Maher has very much encouraged the party to become the party of, like, the same way that Republicans will get a lot of the Catholic vote and the religious vote because of pro-life standpoints and Supreme Court. He said, become a one-issue party over pot. And whether or not you consume it or advocate
Exactly,
for
yeah.
it or think that it's good medically or recreationally or wherever you stand. If you're a fiscal conservative, you'll recognize that there are certain states in the union that are profiting off of fractional pieces of the industry.
Yep.
So as each of these new states make it legal, they're auctioning off the right to become one of the 2 companies that can do it. You have the whole, certification process out in the Emerald Triangle in California that all these people can't afford, these excessive licenses to just grow the same product that they were growing to begin with.
Yeah.
And it angers me. This is why I voted Democrat in 2018, because Texas can produce products like they can produce glass that you might use to smoke marijuana out of. And they have different portions of the industry that you can profit off of, but not all of it. And
Right.
it just seems like it's becoming a competitive landscape issue almost.
Yeah.
So I could make that argument to Republicans, not from like the morality standpoint, but just from the,
business opportunity.
P&L.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got varsity games coming up. You got to go soon.
Yeah.
When is it? 6:00 here? Yeah.
Yeah. The girl should be starting soon. So
You do. Are you like, what's up? I'm Brad.
nah,
Holding it down
nah.
in the gym, man.
I'm just like, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for your CTA Trailblazers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Number 5. Yeah.
Number 5, Seth White. Number 6, Brian White.
No.
Ricky White.
Don't have any of the whites here. I don't know. Not sure where that's coming from.
No, just that you probably don't have any future NBA players on your team.
No. We do in the state. We have some high rank. We do have 2 boys that are ranked pretty high in the state.
Really? Why would they waste their time going to this school when they could go to a real school for like your basketball isn't real compared to like Dallas or I don't know, South Lake Carroll,
Right.
for instance. Am I right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
You're absolutely right. I'm just trying to think of a I feel like there were other opportunities for you rather than going to Southwestern, but like because of your family and stuff, did your family play a role in it at all?
100%. They said if you want mommy and daddy's money, you got to go to an Adventist school.
Exactly. So that's kind of the same thing. Like the parents, even though they're super talented kids, like they're sending them to this school to get a Christian or Adventist education. And
that's good. Have they been recruited or tried to be sharked?
Yeah, we had.
Really?
Yeah, last night.
You had like an athletic trainer from like a public school ISD come and scout?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, man, over at Mansfield ISD, we could get you a 2 times locker.
Yeah, no.
We got 3 seniors that are ready to date you.
No. But I don't know much about that. And so
well, cool, man. I'm glad you're announcing though. That's cool.
Yeah. It's good, and the kids actually like it a lot. So I like. I guess I'm the first person. In the past they've just been like, number 5, number 10, or whatever. Like, but since I kind of amp them up, like they really like me doing it. So.
Oh, for sure. Well, and I remember at Southwestern, basketball was like really the only sport that we would get hype about.
And they still do those basketball tournaments. Like our boys are.
Oh, I'm sure.
Are playing in the tournament this year.
I'll never forget when we beat.
It's like a statewide tournament.
I think it was Richland or Southwestern Assembly of God, and we like mobbed the court.
Yeah,
and
tons.
We hadn't won a single game in like 13 years or something crazy.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Shout out to Pebbles, who was the all-time leading scorer during my tenure here.
Yeah.
I think he scored points for the Southwestern Knights. What was it, 14 consecutive years in a row?
Maybe so.
Prior to wrapping his undergrad.
Yikes.
Yikes.
If you're listening.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not listening. If he is, shout out Pebbles, dude. Yeah, you're the man.
He crushing it.
Yeah. He was the all-time leading scorer with 100 points over 13 aggregate years.
Jeez.
We were so bad. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys are crushing it at the high school level.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Well, thanks for working me in this week.
I appreciate you making the trek over here.
For sure. Where's dinner tomorrow night for your girl?
Frescas?
Ooh.
Frescas.
Yeah, in
In
Burleson?
Burleson.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love that place.
Yeah.
They have great fajitas.
Yeah,
And
I've been there once.
so is she going to be in town tomorrow or what?
She's here. She's been here for the past few days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's actually going to be at the games tonight too. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. I mean, she just walked these halls like mere months ago almost. It was funny. I was texting my mom earlier and I was explaining that I was coming down for the podcast and that your girl's birthday conflicted with mine. And my mom goes, "Oh, how cute. You're turning 30. She's turning 12. And I was like, Mom, doing my dirty work for me. I said, I'm definitely going to share that with Brad. It'll make him red.
Yep, love those jokes.
No, she'll be 23 tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or Thursday.
Thursday.
Happy 23rd birthday, Courtney, number 5. Anything else, man?
Nope, ready to go now.
Brad's staring at me very frustrated. Take it out of my mom, dude. It wasn't me.
You verbalized it on air.
Courtney is 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is fine. All right, man. Well, thanks for getting together and have fun with her. I'll see you Friday in Dallas for the festivities.
Sounds good, man. Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Check us out at weeklycatchuppodcast.com. Search for Weekly Catch Up Podcast in all of your major platforms that you consume podcasts through. And please be sure to rate, subscribe, and review. We definitely appreciate that. Shout out to, I don't know who Brock is.
Yes.
Who is Brock?
Brock
he seems
Reichert.
Very interesting.
We went to Burton together. He was a senior when I was a freshman. And I actually, one of these times I'll share some stories about him, but I really look up to that guy. He's a good dude. He's over in Colorado right now. He's a nurse, big into fitness.
Well, he seems like just of kindred spirit from like the topical perspective.
Buff and Abroad. If you want to check out him, Buff and Abroad. He has his own website and Twitter handle, Buff and Abroad.
Yeah, I looked him up and Ellen was like, "Ooh, he's hot. What's Buff and Abroad?"
Yeah,
she was like looking it up. But that guy seems very thoughtful, and he's tweeted about 2 moments in podcasts that are deep in. So he's obviously avidly consuming it. You know him, obviously. So
right. Yeah.
That's cool. I meant to ask you about that.
Yeah, he's a guy that I've always really looked up to. So I really, really appreciate you listening, Brock. That means a lot.
Well, shout out Brock and shout out Michael Denny. He was group texting us last week that he's anxious to grab a microphone and
we got to get you in soon
and be a guest on the podcast. And he's listened to all 7 thus far, cover to cover. So greatly appreciate his support.
Yeah, Michael, I want you to add to the conversation. Come be a guest. That'd be awesome, man.
All right, everybody. That's it for November 19th, 2019 Weekly Catch Up Podcast. We out.
All right. We'll catch you up soon. Later.